Let's now get some legal expertise from Professor Thom Brooks. He's the head of Durham Law School at Durham University in the UK. Now, the legal challenge, Thom, is based on the contention that it is discriminatory and unconstitutional. So what does this contention mean? Has the US president overstepped his powers?
He has. So the president is able to issue executive orders, but the executive orders that the president makes are only valid within the existing law. And the issue here is he's made an executive order that is against, it violates existing laws, such as that there cannot be discrimination on the basis of nationality on people coming into the United States, a law that Congress passed in the 1960s.
But Trump argues that his executive order is a question of national security. Surely, as the commander-in-chief of the country, he must have more leeway to pass such an order or not?
Well, it's true he has an awful lot of power as commander-in-chief, and he's claiming that as president, he sees certain security information and that he's very upset that the courts are somehow not letting him get his way with this. Of course, remember that only a few weeks ago, President Obama was telling us that the security information he was receiving said very clearly that there was another government, namely Russia, that was tampering to some degree in the American election. Donald Trump saw the same information, came to a different conclusion. This isn't about a disagreement on the interpretation of what security threats there may or may not be from people from the countries listed on the executive order. But it's, in a sense, Trump is going, in a sense, too far. He's trying to have a blanket ban on countries, people from certain countries based on nationality, which is against U.S. law. If Trump thinks there's some reason why that there should be a departure from the existing law, well, he's going to need to get Congress to approve something. He's going to need to change the law effectively to get his way on that point, none of which he's done. And he's also tried to go even further than that by claiming very unhelpfully on Twitter that he seems to think that as president, he's the only one who should be allowed to say who comes in and who doesn't. You know, that's not, one, how immigration law works. It's a domestic matter. Domestic issues are something that the Congress and the courts have a say in. And also there's rules, right? So the country is governed by the rule of law. It's not up to any one person or even the president to say what is or is not the case in something like this. If he has certain evidence to be seen, he needs to show it. That's what happened with the judge's statement. And he hasn't produced the goods. He just says, take my word for it.
And briefly, Thom, let me just briefly ask you. Now, you said he's been saying some unhelpful things about the judiciary, calling the judge a so-called judge and his decision ridiculous. What does this tone mean for relations between the executive and the judiciary?
Well, that's probably the most worrying thing of all coming out of this. Shortly after this decision was taken, the White House website removed the judiciary from the White House website as one of the branches of government. Of course, in the United States, other countries have their own way of organizing themselves, but there are three branches: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. And clearly, the President Trump seems to be setting himself on a collision course against the judiciary. In the American system, each of the branches provide a check and balance to the others so that no one branch can be all powerful. And to have this kind of very competitive relationship with the courts is probably the most damaging thing to come out of this. Effectively, I, the executive, ought to get my way on whatever I want on information that only I know. Well, arguably, that's not a good way to run any country, but putting that aside, legally, that's not how America works, nor should it.
Right. Professor Thom Brooks from Durham University, the head of the law school there. Thank you very much for sharing your legal expertise with us.